President Jacob Zuma's estranged wife, Ntuli-Zuma, says she will sue both the Hawks and the National Prosecuting Authority for malicious prosecution. This after they identified her as a suspect in the former president's alleged poisoning without having any real evidence against her. Former President Zuma's lawyers declined to comment. However, the MPA decided not to charge the former First Lady or anyone else last month over the alleged attempted murder of Zuma. Now, in July, Zuma told the State Capture Commission of Inquiry he had been the subject of multiple assassination attempts. In her first television interview, Ntuli-Zuma describes how then President Zuma confronted her with accusations that she poisoned him. Ntuli-Zuma, who is affectionately known as Mantuli, also likened the past few years since the allegations emerged to hell. She spoke to Newzroom Afrika's editorial contributor, Karen Morn.
Ntuli, thank you so much for agreeing to do this interview. I know it must be pretty nerve-wracking for you. What I want to do is take you back to the moment where your life changed and essentially you got involved in this whole allegation that you somehow had poisoned former President Jacob Zuma. What happened? How did it come about that he, or that accusation was made against you?
Yeah, thank you so much for having me and giving me this opportunity to come and explain about this, because I never had any chance to speak about it, especially in public. I always had people speaking on my behalf, and no one had interest to come to me and ask questions as you did. I had this when I was at home doing my normal duties as a wife, not knowing anything. And then when this news came in, I was very broken. I felt like I was torn apart. I couldn't believe that it's me they are talking about until Mahlobo came and also emphasized that, yeah, I've been accused, or I am a suspect on this matter. So I was so surprised and hurt at the same time, because I couldn't believe that since I was 23 years of age, being involved with a man that I say he is my husband, can anyone think that I can kill him at this age? So I was deeply hurt.
Did anyone say to you why they thought you were the one that had poisoned him?
No.
Did he say anything to you before this whole thing exploded in the way that it did? Did he ask you, did you poison me?
He did ask me. In fact, he got a piece of paper where they wrote all those allegations on. They gave it to him. And then he came with this piece of paper and approached me and said, Mantuli, I have something to tell you. So can we go to the guest house so that we'll sit down and discuss it? Then I followed him. We went to guest house. We sat, and then he stated all the allegations that were made against me and said, if you know about them, tell me. And then if you don't know about them, then let the investigation start. Then I said, I refused, and I don't know none of the allegations that have been brought out. So the investigation can start. They can start the investigation.
Can you remember what those allegations were?
There were so many things there, because they said I had this intelligent person that I was working with from overseas, of which I don't know. And then they said Baba was given the poison by tea, of which I never made any tea for Baba with poison. And they said I was sleeping with the bodyguard, of which I never slept with any bodyguard. And then they also said I have money in Mauritius, where they deposited the money from the account in Mauritius. Fortunately enough, I never had any accounts out of South Africa. I never had visited Mauritius. I don't know where is Mauritius. I never been in Mauritius before. I don't know anything about the money that he was talking about. I don't know anything about Mauritius. I never visited Mauritius.
How did you feel when your husband is saying these things to you?
I thought my husband knows me as a husband, or even your child. When you stay with your child, you know your child, and you know what can your child do, what not. So it was a shock to me, a very huge one. And I don't know how I survived it.
After he confronts you, the former president confronts you with the allegations, you deny it, you say, I want an investigation. Yes. What happened then after that?
The police and everyone were at home already. So after we spoke, I went to my house. They followed me. They started searching my house, and then we had an interviews with them. They put some machines, I don't know how to call them, the rating ones. So they put those machines, and then they questioned me. I answered them.
Like a lie detector?
Yes, they did.
Okay.
And then after that, we've done that. Thereafter, I think they almost coming every day and give me time to rest, maybe when it's in the middle of the night. And then they'll say, go mine rest, then have 2 or 3 hours, then come back, and then another one will come again and do the questioning.
And you were then removed or forced to leave Nkandla. When did that happen?
I was moved by Mahlobo. Mahlobo came himself.
This is David Mahlobo, the former Minister of Intelligence, yeah.
To tell me that due to the investigation, they need me to move out so that they'll be able to run their investigation.
But you never ever went back to Nkandla?
No.
You have 3 children. How did this affect them? I mean, how did you tell them, or how did you tell them what was actually going on? Because it must have been quite horrible for your children.
In fact, Carol, I just had to come out and tell them that this is the story. Your father believes that I was killing him. So we are moving Nkandla because of that. So I don't know where we are going. Then my kids were very young by then. I think the only person who at least understood a little bit was the oldest one, because the other 2 were still young. So to them it didn't make any sense.
You had to wait for 5 years before the National Prosecuting Authority finally admitted that actually they couldn't pursue a prosecution. Sean Abrams had said you were a suspect, but you had this hanging over you for 5 years. What was that 5 years like for you? I mean, the kind of issues that you faced.
I think that 5 years, it was like 5 years in hell, yes, with everything. I couldn't stay to where I wished, or I can see myself staying. Because when I left Nkandla, they took me to Zimbabwe. Then I stayed in Zimbabwe a few weeks, and then they got me a house in Umhlanga. I went to stay there for, I think, a few weeks again, because my kids were schooling in Greytown. So I told them that I have no intention to remove my kids from where they are schooling to another school. And then they said they will arrange something in Greytown for us to stay, because Umhlanga was not going to work for us. Kids are schooling in Greytown, us we are in Umhlanga, so it's too much of a distance. So they arranged us a guest house in Greytown. It was just the one room with all my luggage you can think of, kids and everyone. And then helper and 2 kids, they had their own rooms. But the thing is, my kids were scared. They couldn't sleep in their rooms. We had to squash in one double bed, all of us. The toilet, the bathroom is here, everything is here. So if anyone is doing number 1 or 2 on the side, you could feel that okay, now I must move out so that I will get a fresh air and then come back. Then we stayed in that guest house for quite some time until I've been moved from the guest house to another guest house also in Greytown, where there was a bar over, or the bar was under the rooms, so you must go up the stairs. Then I refused to stay in that guest house. I told them that I'm going back to my house in Nkandla. So if they want to kill me, they must come and kill me there. That's when I got the message from the official who was working for David Mahlobo that I'm not allowed to go into Nkandla.
And when was this? Do you remember the year?
This was in 2015, yes. And then they took me to Hilton Hotel in Pietermaritzburg. Hilton was too much busy. You know, us and the security, I always concerned of the security. I couldn't feel safe when I was there. Oh, before I went there, a day when we were leaving the guest house, the 2 gentlemen on the Thursday night, they came and put a price stand in front of my house, pretending as if they are going to have a braai or something. Then I did call David Mahlobo and say, these guys who are out there, I see them. And I want you to know that, number 1, I'm not going to kill myself because of this. 2, I don't want to get killed when I'm still outside Nkandla. I put that on your hands. Should I get killed here, you must answer how I was killed. Then I told them that there's these 2 gentlemen that I do not understand what they are doing here. So they must speak to them and see what they do about them.
So you were living in constant fear for your life?
Very true. So when we went to Hilton Hotel, it was worse. Because when a person is coming to a hotel, you cannot question why is he using this site or not the site. Then I left the kids there. I went to Johannesburg to my mother's sister's house. I stayed with them. On the day I was going to visit the kids, they were moved that night to another guest house next to the freeway. That is N3. There's an escort in something that we were moved into. When I reached the place, we couldn't sleep there because it was not safe. The sniper can stay anywhere and shoot me. I took the young ones, I booked somewhere else. Then the next morning I called Baba and tell him that, no, Baba, I think this is too much. It's beyond me and I don't know what to do anymore. So could you please sort this out? We've been put in this situation. We've been moved from here to here. Now we are here and I don't feel safe anymore. And then I don't know what Baba said to whom because I was not there. I tried Mahlobo. Mahlobo couldn't pick up his phone. So Mahlobo, after I left Nkandla, he was running away from me when I needed something from him. When I'm calling him to question something, Mahlobo was no longer available for us. So only the officials, the Tumapule, who was always do the arrangements and come back to me and do some other things with all time. So we also said we're going back home. And then they got another house in Pietermaritzburg. They put us there. We stayed there until the kids had an accident. After the accident, also we stayed until they healed. Then they moved us to to Greytown.
It was a car accident.
Yes, it was a car accident. Can you imagine when young kids are going to wake up in Pietermaritzburg, schooling in Greytown, the kilometers they travel every day to Greytown was too much for the young kids. But we had no choice. Then they organized a house in Greytown for us. They put us there.
And that's where you've been staying?
I've been staying there until 2016 December, where Baba bought us another house in Hillcrest. That's how I got out of that house to Hillcrest.